Okay, in the video you're just about ready to view, we're going to show using our dovetail system here. And you're going to see that we have, we'll be cutting dovetails with individual tuning forks, like these right here, see? And what you have to do, you'll see, you have to line these up and make sure they're perfectly square and all that. But what's nice about them, you can do some variably spacing. That's the only thing advantage of doing it this way. You can do some variably spacing dovetails. Well, 95% of the time, 99%, people aren't variably spacing their dovetails. They're spacing them solid. So we like to do things easy and simple here at Sommerfeld. So what we did, we're going to make a solid plate to replace all these individual forks. And you can see right here, all these individual tuning forks, they're coming here and they are exactly the same as what we have here. But it just makes it a lot easier for you this way. Now, some of you, if you want this individually spacing like this, we do sell these tuning forks as an accessory now, okay? So you can take this plate off and put these tuning forks on as an accessory. You can also buy the tuning forks also that are for box joints. And then you'll see at the end of the DVD, we also have our half-blind organic plate too. You'll see how that works in the DVD. But we just want to inform you right now, this is how, when we sell a dovetail jig here at Sommerfeld's, this is how it is. It's a solid plate. If you want to make it this way, you buy these accessories later. Thank you for watching the DVD. Hello, my name is Marc Sommerfeld. Today we're going to be cutting dovetails, and I'm going to show you how we cut a bunch of different types of dovetails. The dovetail jig we're going to be using is our new Katy jig here. I know one of the magazine publications tested this recently, and they took it out of the box, said they were ready to start cutting in about 30 minutes. I think it's going to take even less than that. But when you get this jig out of the box, and just make sure you have the 9 tuning forks that come with it here. The toaster bar clamps are already attached to the jig. The dovetail bit and the pattern bits you need, and there's also an Allen wrench that comes with it to adjust the tuning forks. And that's the main thing you want to do when you first start using this jig, is check out the tuning forks on the jig. Now, one of the biggest problems our customers have is when they make a dovetail joint right here, that the side of the drawer and the front of the drawer, sometimes they're not quite lined up tight, flush on the top, okay? The reason for this is because when their tuning forks are on here, if these tuning forks aren't on the jig perfectly square, if they're at a little bit of an angle, that could be your problem. So that's the first thing you want to do when you get your jig, is take all these tuning forks off, okay? We're going to take these tuning forks off the jig. And we're going to start in the middle and square the first one up. And all the rest of them should follow square, but we're going to make sure by checking it with a square on each one. Okay, so we know that tuning fork goes there. Now, on these tuning forks, if you look real close here, there's 2 pins. There's a pin right here and a pin right here. Well, those 2 pins should be on the jig perfectly square, lined up like that, see? And there's a little bit of play on purpose. We got a little bit of slop. If you look at this, I can move this up and down like this, see? Well, have it go so the pins go against one side. Doesn't make any difference. We're going to have the pins have gravity pull it that way. Okay, once you do, if you have both those pins against this set, let's snug it down and make sure that that tuning fork is on there square, okay? She's on there square. Now, if that tuning fork happened to be, this pin and this pin weren't touching the same side, if there's a little bit of an angle, then your dovetails aren't going to line up. So that's the first thing you want to do, is make sure you start out with the first one in the middle, nice and tight, and make sure it's square. Now, what we're going to do next is take the rest of the tuning forks and lining them up against each one, building out this way. And each time you put one of the tuning forks on, it wouldn't hurt to just make sure and check it for square. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to line up all my tuning forks. Okay, we got that last tuning fork tight. Now, what I did, you probably have these nice support blocks on the edges here to help support the jig. They don't really need it. So what I did is I took those support blocks off, and I just bought 2 more tuning forks to make my jig wider. I can cut a little bit wider dovetail if I need to. Okay, all my tuning forks are on there. They're all perfectly square. Now, the next thing you want to do with your jig, in the instructions right here, you can see it's going to tell you how to label the jig if you want to. And if you don't want to mutilate your jig with a bunch of black magic marker, some guys will put a piece of tape down here and then write on top of the tape until they get to learning how to use a jig. But what you want to do is identify the 2 backer boards. These are the backer boards. One is 5/8 of an inch thick. The other is 3/4 of an inch thick. It should come this way when you get it. The 5/8 of an inch thick cutting board there is on the open dovetail side, open where you had the teeth going at an angle. Okay, so make sure you can see by the directions how to place it. Okay, the next thing you want to do is these edge stops. Number them 1 and 3. These are your odd, and 2 and 4. And this here is for your fronts and backs of the drawers we got labeled. Down here is for the sides. All right, so label your jig and you'll be all ready to start cutting dovetails. The other thing we did is we put 2 arrows in here to remind us that when we cut dovetails, that the inside of the drawer goes to the inside of the jig. All right, so we're ready to start cutting our dovetails now. I'll go get 4 pieces of stock for a drawer and we'll show you how we do it. Okay, here's the 4 pieces to our drawer. When you get these, you want to follow the instruction pamphlet, and it tells you to number all of the corners. We're going to number this corner here where these go together 1 and 1. Okay, this corner here is numbered 2 and 2. And we go 3 and 3, 4 and 4 clockwise right around the drawer. So all of our corners match up perfect. The next thing you want to do to identify it is I always write down side. That's the side of the drawer. This is the side, this is the front, and this is the back. The next thing you want to do is label an X on the inside of the drawer. Right here, inside of the drawer there. And when you do all this labeling, label on the bottom side. And you might not have to do this very long, but when you first start, you want to label this. After a while, once you get the hang of it, you probably won't even label them except for the numbers. Okay, we got everything identified. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start cutting the dovetails in the sides of our drawers. So we're going to go get our dovetail bit and do that. Okay, we got our dovetail bit and we're ready to start cutting our dovetails in our sides. Now, before you stick that dovetail bit in there, a lot of guys have problem with the stop. See, there's a stop collar on that bearing. It holds that bearing in there. If that set screw comes a little bit loose, this bearing could slide down. And if that bearing slides down, you're not going to have a guide and you might ruin some teeth or something like that. So I always make sure you take a little Allen wrench, Sears sells them, and tighten up that stop collar. Make sure that stop collar is tight in there and your bearing is going to stay put. All right, we're going to stick the dovetail bit into there and snug it up. Anytime, that would go for any time you use any router bit, a pattern bit, any bit that has a bearing with a stop collar, always check before you do a job that stop collar and make sure it's tight. All right, we're tight, we're set, and we're ready to go. Now, the next thing we have to do is get this bit set to the correct height. The correct height, if you want to take a piece of scrap wood, you set your jig up here, take the thickness of the stock you're using, make sure that that bit is sticking just a little bit proud, a little bit higher than the stock that you're using, because we're cutting through dovetails, you'll see later. An easier way of doing it, what I found, is just lay your piece of wood down, set your jig on it. Now you have a nice area, you can get that jig right a little bit proud of the tuning fork, right there. So the bit's set to the right height, we're all set to go. Now, the next thing we want to do is take one of our sides. We're going to take a side and we're going to cut the dovetails on the side. Okay, this side happens to be number 4. So we're going to use the side, the even side, 2 and 4. We're going to bring it over to here and set it against our stop, our edge stop. Now, where do we set the edge stops? How do we know where to set the edge stops? I always set them, remember what I said, we labeled the bottom of the drawer, that's the bottom. Well, the top side of the drawer is always away from the edge stop. So I always set it so that my edge stop is lining up the board so that the top of my door is right between 2 forks. I got 2 tuning forks being joined right there by that notch. You can see where I'm lined up. If I was doing the other side now, I'd flip this over. We've got side 1 over here. The same thing. There's the 2 tuning forks meeting, and my stock is right even, right in between there. It doesn't have to be perfect exact, just for the eye. Okay, the other thing is now, when you set that edge stop, when you got it, tighten it down. It also has the 2 pins in it. Make sure that that edge stop is perfectly square with your jig. Put a square on here and make sure they're square. We've checked these, they're square. If not, if that edge stop is on there at an angle, the side of your drawer is going to be here, the top's going to be here, and they're not going to, when they come together, you're going to be off. Okay, so let's come in here and put number 1 side against number 1 over here, let's say. And remember, the X goes to the inside of the drawer, so you know exactly how to stick everything in the jig to cut. The next thing you want to do is slide that against the edge stop. Make sure you are flush on the bottom of the jig, of course. If you happen to be up like, if you had that thing in there and you're up like this, it's no good. So make sure you're square on the bottom and against the edge stop on the top, and then you just simply follow that bearing in between the cutting teeth and cut your dovetails, just like this. All we do is take this side out of here now, flip it over to the other side, number 4 against number 4, inside against the inside of the jig, and it's that simple to cut the 4 sides for your drawer. We'll continue cutting here, and then we'll cut the other 2 on the other one. Okay, we've got all of our dovetails cut now. Okay, on the sides. Okay, the next thing we're ready to do is start cutting with the pattern bit, the other bit. So we're going to take the dove pit out, and we're going to change and put the pattern bit in. And also, make sure you set the stop collar on that, check it, make sure she's tight. So that's what we're going to do next. We'll change these bits out, and we'll make sure they're the same height just as we did before with the dovetail bit, and then we'll start how we start cutting the pattern bit. Okay, we've got our pattern bit in there, the stop collar is tight, and we check, make sure that the bit is set to the right height. It's a little bit proud, we're ready to start cutting with the pattern bit. And we do that now on the side where it says front and back, of course, and that's the side that has the 5/8 inch backer board. Leave the edge stops set right where they were. All you do is follow the numbers. Very simple. Number 3, we'll pick out number 3. Here's the number 3. Here's the inside of the jig. We stick it in, and it's that simple. We're ready to start cutting. Now, when you cut with the pattern bit, it's going to take 2 passes. You know, like on this right here, we're going to come into here, and then we're going to come into here. So when we're starting here, even though I think I can get all of that stock right there, I always come out here and make sure if I clip that one first, and then I do this one second. Same way when I get to this one, you'll see I'll come on the outside first, and then I'll come in here. Inside here, you can go either one first. But all you do is have that bearing follow the teeth of your tuning forks. Okay, we got that side done. Now all we do is flip it over. Number 4 goes against number 4. And we stick it over here. And we do the same thing with the other 3 sides of our fronts and backs. Okay. Okay, we've done cutting with our pattern bit now. A little tip I can tell you when you cut with this, you know, you're putting pressure on that bearing, and you notice when I was cutting, I don't cut straight in. I kind of use this side as a pivot point, and I put a little bit of pressure against the bearing and just kind of pivot it like that, see? That way you're putting pressure on the bearing and you're not going to wander. So that's an easy way of doing it. Just kind of pivot that thing against the teeth, and it does a great job of cutting. Okay, what we have done now is all of our, these are called the pins, by the way, all of our pins cut, and we've got all of our tails cut. Now, to put our drawer together, very simple, it's all numbered for us. Here's the 2 4s, and we know that what's ever labeled is the bottom. All we got to make sure is that the X's are to the inside. Okay, this has to go over here then, see? This is our 4. And we start assembling the drawer. Now, to do this, what I'll do, I'm not going to show you how we do it, but I just put a little dab of glue on the top, on the edge grain, in glue there, a little glue in here, and hammer the drawer together. Line it up like this. You can take a mallet if you want, a little hammer. I just use this little hammer. Get everything lined. And you can see, if you look here really close, why they call this a through dovetail, because the dovetail goes through here and it also goes through here. And you can see how we're sticking proud just a little bit. Well, that's where I had that bit setting above my stock. I want to make sure I go through just a little bit. We're nice and flush on the top. Now we put our other side on, and number 1's here, so we look for number 1 here. Has to be here, the inside of the drawer, right like that. Of course, you'll be cutting. I'm not going to go through. I did that in my cabinet making DVD, how we go through and cut the drawers, the bottom and everything, you know, but we're just going to be cutting the dovetails today. The inside of the drawer goes here. The numbers line up. Your dovetails are that easy to do. Now, eliminating some of this where you went by, what I'll do sometimes is I'll stick a flush trim bit in my router where the bearing's on top here, and I'll just slice all that off. Just come in here and cut like that. Come in here, and you can just flush trim where that through dovetail went through. But that's how easy it is to cut through dovetails on the router table with our Katy jig. Okay. The next thing we're going to show you is something different we can do with the Katy jig. I'll show you that next. Okay, what we just got through doing is dovetail joints where they're perfectly aligned, just matched, just perfect, evenly spaced. Well, another thing you can do with this jig is you can make the joints so they are variably spaced by moving the teeth. Okay, you can see we got a wider gap here, a little bit smaller here, and really small here. And people like to do this to give it the illusion that they're hand cut. Okay, to do that, you can take the teeth off and align them anywhere you want. But what I like to do is, you don't have to, but I just put a spacer block in between. You'll see later when we're cutting them what that spacer block is for. And I just made that out of a piece of scrap wood, and I made sure it's a little bit narrower than the thickness of the tuning forks. So we got these aligned up like this, and again, you square these on, you can put them any arrangements you want. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I'm just going to do one, instead of building a whole drawer, I'm just going to build one corner here to show you how we're going to variably space a variably spaced dovetail. Okay, we've got our jig set up for the variably spacing now. We got some wide stock in here, and again, you set it up the same way, any way you want as far as that goes. On the left side, clamp it down, and we're going to use the pattern bit. We've already got the pattern bit in there from the last cutting the regular dovetails. Okay, so we're going to come in here and just cut where the teeth aren't. The bearing's going to run. Let's see. Okay, you can see where we're cutting in between the teeth kind of freehand. That's why